So, Dan Hoyle, thank you for joining me as you're getting over a cold. It shows the kind of show must go on, you know, kind of
Yeah.
courage that I'm looking for all of my wonderful performers in the One for All Festival. And I'm super excited that you'll be coming to the festival with your show. And this show that you're doing is called Takes All Kinds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what do you do in the show? What's it about, Dan? Yeah, what
Takes
what
all
can people
kinds
expect?
is takes all kinds is a piece of call it journalistic theater sometimes, immersion research theater other times. Really it's an electric experience of feeling like you're meeting all these people from across the country. And it's all based on people that I met and did the journalism hanging out with, as I like to call it. So I interviewed them, but I also hung out with them. They took me to their spots. I got to know them, developed relationships with them. And so you see these, 5 to 7 minute scenes. Sometimes, you're in a barber shop in Las Vegas. I'm playing three different barbers, or you're on a street corner in Atlanta and I'm playing the different canvassers and the people they're trying to canvass, or sometimes it's just one guy in rural Missouri who's telling his life story, and audiences feel like they're meeting these different people.
And you're playing all of them, which is, I just want to say on the record, unfair because as someone who can only play myself, it just seems like it's not right that you should be able to play just tons of people. But I'm accepting it. I'm accepting it, and it's like
Yeah,
I just want to register my complaint that you're so great at that.
yeah, and part of I think how I'm able to do that is both building up the trust and the relationships with these people, the close observation, but then I also work with a ton of collaborators. Alda Billingsley is the director on this show. I also worked with Michael Socrates Moran. I also worked with Charlie Varon, who I've been working with for 20 years. There was also, I worked on this show at the ground floor Berkeley Rep with other folks there. And then doing it in front of audiences. I think that is part of our similarity, perhaps, is that finding that you really find it in front of an audience and they teach you so much.
Yeah, I'm really interested in that because, as you allude to, I mean, I develop my shows in front of audiences in improvisations and then in rehearsals with collaborators, and so. But for me, like I'm just talking about my life kind of endlessly for decades and decades, as it turns out, and that's what I'm doing. But you're doing these characters and scenes of people, and so I'm wondering just what that dynamic is and how that is affected by doing it in front of audiences. Like, what does it do? Does it sharpen your sense of who the character is? Does it sharpen the wording? What does it do? Does it change the look?
Yeah, yes, there's so much stuff it does because there is a transformation that needs to happen from the raw interview. I do audio recordings, and then I also sometimes just take notes. But what you're eventually going to see is a 5 to 7 minute, like super boiled down version. So it does have to be translated into the theatrical version of this. So there's lines that are added that finish the thought, give the context, underscore the thing, add the emotional thing that you wouldn't know if you're just reading the transcript of the interview. There's a ton of work that goes into really shaping it to be a theatrical experience. At the same time, I really try to honor the gift of what someone gave me or what a group of people gave me. And so that if I go and always in my shows, I go in thinking it's going to be about this, and people tell me all this other stuff, and I go, okay, I have to change. It's going to be about that. And that's really important that it not be like, well, I want to write about this thing. They
Right.
didn't tell me that, but I'm just going to just kind of do the thing I wanted to do.
Well, then, okay, with takes all kinds. So you went out, you started meeting with people, hanging out, if I can use your technical term, the term of art. Yeah, hanging out. I hang out with people all the time. I'm just not able to then portray them afterwards. But it's cool. It's cool. I'm gonna just put my resentment away and jealousy. So you do that. So what did you go into this batch of encounters thinking? What was the this that you thought your show was going to be about, and what was the that you learned the show really was about?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be about reconciliation.
Huh.
And I actually, that was my initial thought. But when I was talking to people, everyone would say, reconciliation, we're in the trenches. Like we're not at that point right now. I even went to Colombia for 2 weeks and talked to all these different folks about the, their national reconciliation process after their civil war. But I came back and realized, okay, no, that's not where we're at. We're kind of at the what's going to happen phase.
Mm.
And so I decided to shift, and it became about the people who are doing change, creating change in difficult places. So, uh, going to a Florida school board meeting in when all the stuff is jumping off about book banning and don't say gay laws and all that stuff. And I go to that school board meeting, there's 400 people outside of it. There's protesters, counter protesters. They had just elected three people to the school board who had been backed by the local Proud Boys group. So it was this huge, but of course, the person I end up meeting and portraying is this guy who wasn't really political growing up. His dad was a conservative preacher. He got into Fish, the band,
Oh, the
kind of had
band.
his
Okay,
mind.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just had to shift the whole. I had a tank. I had little blurbles going through, and then it's like, oh, okay, Fish the band. PH. Got it. Yeah.
PHISH. And his whole mind got completely changed. And then his daughter came out as being gay. And so he's this dude who's dipping tobacco, in
Mm.
front of the thing, but then also talking about like how he's gotten politically, how he both changed and now he's trying to affect change. And that just became really interesting to me. Like all these people and how they are and walking these lines that are a lot different in a place like Charleston, South Carolina, or Las Vegas, or Atlanta, or Florida, where the assumptions are all over the map.
Yeah, it's really it's evoking to me too. Just I did a piece. My last piece was about empathy, and now I'm doing this piece about depression and fascism. Yeah, and I still believe empathy is really important. Like it's super important and stuff like that. But it was this weird thing when I started working on my own show on on what is to be done. And I actually said to the audience, I said, I did all this stuff about empathy, and I really believe in empathy. But right now we have to win, and we have to beat the bastards. We have to we have to stop them from destroying us and our earth, And so
For sure.
it reminded me a little bit of that idea of like sort of going in with this idea of sort of reconciliation, which is sort of feels kind of warm and fuzzy, you know. Although I realize obviously it can be really complex, but it sort of feels that way. And then people saying, "Well, actually, no." I'm having grenades lobbed at me. So
Right.
reconciliation doesn't feel like the top of mind concept that I want to talk about.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened. And I think, yes, when you get into it, and there's some interesting stuff. I mean, there's one woman who through a random DNA test, found out that her family was some of the biggest slave traders in Charleston. And she's this sweet old woman, um, not that old, retired, but
Yeah,
she's
but
from
be careful who
Charleston.
you're talking to here when
Yeah,
you say old. It's like, so you mean like 300 years old, something like that? Like,
yeah, no,
yeah,
totally.
like actually old. Okay.
Yes. Um, and but now she goes, and so she decided to go public with her whole history, and she uses her sweetness and charm and her uh the fact that she's embedded in all these kind of blue blood circles to go around and kind of say, well, I have a story to share with you, and she tells them their history. And um but she does it in all these people that I talk to, they're so savvy and they're so funny and surprising and complex that it's like the thing that people say, they come to the show, they're like, wow, it got to the heart of what's happening in this country, but it didn't feel like I was being like hit with bludgeoned with politics, or people say, I left feeling like oddly hopeful.
Uh-huh.
Um, or just seeing the way
We like
that the
that.
vulnerable.
We like that. We like that to
Yes.
happen to our audiences, and we like it when it happens to us. We so need to feel oddly hopeful whenever we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really an experience. That's what people say over and over again. It's like it's an experience they have. It starts out as kind of like a show, and they're like, okay, this is a one-man show, like okay, and then I got an email from a guy saying, at first I was kind of like, okay, and then the more I saw it, I kind of was just moved over and over again, and kind of, he said, I wanted other people. I'm telling all my friends to go see it so I can talk about it with them because I just want to understand what was this experience that I just had. He felt like it was something genuinely new, and he's a guy who, writes movies and stuff like that. So that's been really cool. And Aldo and I have also got to travel back to some of the places where the people um, are whose stories are on the stage. We got to go back to Charleston, have two people whose stories in the show come and see the show with their whole community. It
Wow.
was I've done that before, but it's completely uh it's transcendent
Yeah,
if I can be so
I would be
bold.
scared shitless personally if I were you. I mean, because you're giving your distillation and maybe with
Yeah.
some dramatization, fictionalization. I mean, I personally would be scared.
Yeah, I mean the thing
It's
that
like that they'll go, well, that's not me. But I
right.
have a feeling that's not the response you got. I have a feeling the responses were more
No,
positive.
what was so incredible about it was like because I could hear the laugh
Mhm.
of this person who I know, I
Right.
knew that I'm delivering this monologue actually in she's in my direct line of sight.
Yeah, that's
So
great. That's super validating.
it is,
Yeah.
and I can hear, and then her husband was saying she was crying as well as hear her laughter and then her crying, and so I think and so there's this kind of like this multi-dimensional thing that happens and where it's like, oh, the audience gets to be me, and now all of a sudden there's invariably this moment where they're like, wait, but the person who's doing this used to be just listening. So now I
Yeah.
get to listen, and this person who took these people in is now giving them back. And I think that's part of the oddly hopeful thing is like, wow, maybe there is this sort of this metaphor of this deeply human thing that is happening, both in the process and then they're seeing it on stage through these characters and their vulnerability. They feel that.
Yeah. And it just feels to me like, I don't know, it seems like an antidote to the messages that we're bombarded with constantly, especially in these awful political times of being encouraged. We're encouraged to think of others as being other,
Yeah.
scary, different, less than, vermin, pollution. I mean, just these horrible
Yeah.
fascist ways of dehumanizing people. And when you're bombarded with that by the most powerful people in your country, it gets inside of you. It's like it infects you. And so I would just imagine that when people are coming, and what I'll feel when I come to see your show at the festivals is an antidote to that. It's like, because we're actually, I think we know that we're actually connected. We know that we're all one community of human beings, and that's really beautiful, and that we should be connected by love. I think we actually know that, and we long for that, but a lot of times it doesn't seem like the world is providing that, or is even
Yeah.
allowing us to feel that way. So I can imagine it's just a great release for people to see all sorts, you embodying other people that you've met, but in particular other people uh, that I may, as an audience member, may not have ever had a chance to encounter, and so and
And I
so
think
might have thought of as like an other, even if it's not necessarily negative, but still separate, right?
Yeah, and I think that word that embodied is so people say that over and over again, and Aldo, my director, talks about that, is that you can't dismiss, you see somebody in your Instagram scroll and they say something and you're like, ah, what an a-hole. Like, yeah. When this person is in a barbershop and they're cutting your hair and they're joking and making you laugh, when they're, serving you tea, when they're, outside of a school board meeting and all this stuff is happening, I mean, they just become humanized because they appear human in this form. And there is something about theater that is unique in that it is three-dimensional and it is visceral and it is um this experience that you have, So I don't want to get into like ions and all that stuff, that's way above my my pay grade, but you know
And
what
I
I
could do
mean?
it because I'm actually a Nobel laureate in just that field, but I just don't think I should take up the time. But I agree with you. I agree with you. It's something really. I mean, it's beautiful and visceral. We are physically together in the theater, and that is also something. I still feel like. I mean, this isn't any like big insight, but I still feel like we're getting over, even though we're still in it in a way. But the COVID crisis, we're still like you and I are communicating on Zoom, which became like this sort of second nature to pretty much everyone at one point because we couldn't be together. But it still feels amazing to be with other people in a theater with a
Absolutely.
performer who is alive there, like not generated by an algorithm or digital, but an actual analog human. I mean, there's just something. There's the levels of sort of humanity and of release from alienation seem
Yeah.
immense.
And it's interesting because this show was kind of created right of me coming out of that. We had our second kid during the pandemic, so like the day we had our daughter, and then we got our vaccines, but then we had a baby, so we were kind of locked, pretty. And I came out of it in like 2023, and it was so amazing for me too to be like, I remember being at the airport, just being like, look at that guy, the way he's like holding his beer. That's fascinating. Or like
Yeah,
that guy decided to wear that t-shirt. That's amazing. Like I was kind of like enamored just with humanity's complexities and idiosyncrasies in a new way, just because I hadn't my senses were just like exploding. And I think that's completely true, is that audiences are having that. I mean, there's some people who've like, I haven't come to the theater in X amount of years.
yeah,
And you're like, welcome back. And the
yeah.
crazy thing is there's nothing that we can put online that can let you know what that experience is going to feel like. You come and then you're like, oh my God.
No, something opens up, something releases, something softens that was frozen, and it can't be done anywhere except in the theater. I say this as you and I are speaking remotely to each other from our abodes over Zoom, and that we're also trying to let people know what they can come and expect when they do come to the live show.
Yeah.
So we're doing our best to entice and to simulate and to encourage people to come in and experience a thing that you and I can't totally do right now because of how we're separated um, by the technical barriers.
Yeah.
So
I was
yeah,
talking to somebody about it the other day and I was like, how should I tell people about this show? And he's like, you should just say it's really effing good. And I was like, well, I can't say that. I sound like an a-hole. And he's like, yeah, but if somebody tells me that, I'm like, well, that guy's pretty dang cocky, but I might check it out.
yeah. Okay, cool. I think I don't know. I feel comfortable telling people that your show is really effing good and that and that they'll have a really effing incredible time coming to see it. So,
Thank
so
you.
you don't
Thank
have
you.
to
Yeah.
say it, dude. I got you on
Yeah.
this one.
Cool. Cool. Well, thank you, Josh. I'm excited to be part of this festival. The theater is beautiful, as we all
It
know.
is. It's a lovely
It's got a town hall vibe. There's this sense of community coming together.
yeah, no,
And
it's just a
yeah.
lovely community, a lovely space. No, I'm super excited. It's going to be a blast. 3 weekends, 3 weekends, one for all.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good shows too. I mean, uh, I hope folks stick around after my show. Tony Cyprian, who I've worked with a lot in the formerly incarcerated People's Performance Project. He's at 7:30 right after me. So my show is only like 65 minutes. I think Tony's about the same time. So you could do some double headers that honestly are less than long. They're nothing like a Tony Kushner play. You could see three solo shows and you still wouldn't be
Yeah.
touching TK's runtime.
No, I noticed that neither of your shows have the word perestroika in them, which was a strict giveaway that was different. But let me, speaking of Tony Cyprian, let me just reinforce what you said in the strongest terms. He's doing a show, Jackie, and it is beautiful, and he is amazing, and that I think would be just quite a lovely combination or double feature to see Dan Hoyle and Tony Cyprian. Tony's also appearing in another show with some other returned citizens. But yes, just remarkable artist, great person. So yeah,
Yeah.
wow, that is gonna be that's gonna be a fun time. And
Make it a
of
night,
course,
y'all.
yeah, what? Yeah, and the tickets are choose your own price. It's
I
like
know.
it's yeah, there's like so like do it. Like I could afford to come to my festival. Like if I were, I mean, I can because I know someone, so I can get myself in. But even so, I could pick my own price. So I mean, yeah, I really can't wait for this whole community to get together.
For sure. For sure.
Okay, man.
Thank you
Well,
so much, Josh.
take care, Dan. Have some vitamin C and stuff. I'm actually not sure if that's at all efficacious, but it seemed like a thing to say. And I will see you very soon.
Sounds good. Thanks,
Take
Josh.
care. Bye.
Peace.